again, the actual thing for the fighter squadron, I never originally had anything. I was originally just going to be just some flat gameplay. And then while I was editing, I was thinking that's a bit flat. So I basically moved this entire block of audio and put it into the fighter squadron. Just so it's not just a block of audio, it's a little bit less. It's got a bit of actual storyline in it, so it's not pointless. It's not just audio. The black screen, I was originally going to have it. That would have actually worked. But again, that was yeah, so the black screen was actually originally going to be in there properly and would have actually worked. But the main problem is that when the gameplay started, it would have just been even longer flat gameplay. That's what I was sort of trying to get rid of, the flatness of the gameplay, and not seem it like another Let's Play video that was just flat. So I added this. I moved the text from here to when the gameplay actually starts. This bit actually This bit, so the uplinks have been located and sent to your helmets. And then I say, thank you, Admiral. I changed it to copy that, Admiral. And then the scene started, and then this bit ended up after it when the gameplay started. And it was originally going to be me saying, am I understood? And then a group of, I say 7 stormtroopers, but they said, sir, yes, sir. But I couldn't get everybody to say sir, yes, sir, for whatever reason, because I think they were busy doing other things. I ended up not being able to get it. So I basically took that out, and it actually worked rather well. And then the music started of the Jedi March. And again, I never intended to have that bit of music in there. The Django's Escape I sort of ended up having in. No, I didn't think of having in there. I put it in there. For the trailer, because I wanted a bit of music in there, but there's never ended up meaning to be any music during the gameplay. It never actually worked. It never actually was going to be a work in progress. Scene transitions to first person perspective of the clone trooper fighting the front lines. That ended up getting scratched, and I just had it as having a number of different clone troopers seeing their perspective. And then the battle goes on. Constant radio chatter, which sort of happened, but not as good as I wanted it for whatever reason. Clone Trooper continues to fight, keep the object disabled, taking out as many fighters as he can. Stormtrooper Sergeant, that never actually ended up going in there, because that was meant to be either Unit or Thorne's lines. But again, Unit wouldn't record his lines, and actually I think Thorne forgot to record those lines. So I sort of took it out, and I just put it in, alright, we have them now. Opens to full con, we didn't actually see that in there. Even though essentially it sort of was in there, but it was never blatantly obvious that it was in there. All troopers attacked the rebel base and leave no one left standing. That was in there. That was in there, and that was so. Yeah, Stormtrooper Sergeant was originally supposed to be in there, and it was meant to be Unit's line, but because Unit couldn't be bothered to do his line, I had Thorne do it. But I think Thorne forgot to record those lines, so he couldn't add it in there. And it was getting quite close to finishing, and I thought I couldn't be bothered to wait for it, so I just left it out, and it actually worked rather well. So we just had all while we have them that open to Volcom, which sort of was in there, but it couldn't be noticed. All troopers attack the rebels in the base, leave no one left standing. Having that just in there with the little hologram in the corner actually worked really, really well. And I didn't actually see that it needed the start bit, even though it sort of would have made a bit of sense. But this was actually meant. This was put in. This was meant to go in where the troopers were still outside the base and were just about to go inside. But this ended up going in. When the troops were entering the rebel base, which again it sort of doesn't make much sense, but it does, for various reasons. And after that was said comms filled with clone stormtroopers saying "say yes sir." Again, I couldn't fit that in because I couldn't get the audio from anybody. Battle waged. No rebels were standing, still focused on the attention of the uplinks. Then Walker crew come in to side the rebels. Walker crew up far the rebel base and kill as many of them as you can. I think that stayed in there. If that didn't, it was very like similar. Roger that, sir. Walker crew opened fired. Now the Walker crew opening fire on the rebel base actually was done twice. That was redone. If you watch, I only noticed it when I actually went back and watched it fully recently. The original Walker firing on the rebels actually still had the HUD in it. I didn't notice until I went back and watched it. I thought, oh bugger, they still got the HUD in it. I forgot about that. And if you look at the original one now, the HUD isn't there because it's third person. So all first persons were had HUDs in them, and all third persons such as Darth Vader and the Walker crew and what have you were all had no HUD on them because it wouldn't make sense. The idea, Retro mentioned this to me because I was talking to him about it as literally a couple of hours after I released it on YouTube. He said to me, the HUD was sort of bothering me a bit throughout the entire video, and I said, and yeah, I agree, it was a bit bothering, but there was a reason why I did it, and to me it made a bit of sense, because the idea being was it was meant to be told from the eyes of the stormtroopers and what they could see. Hence why in third person the HUD wasn't there, because it wouldn't make sense. If they were looking through the clone troopers or the stormtroopers or whatever were looking through the optics of their helmets, and they could see the different things such as your radar and what have you in there, and it sort of made a bit more sense to me in my eyes that it was there. And again, the third person perspective still wouldn't have made any sense if the HUD was still on, because that wouldn't have worked at all. So I took that off, same with Darth Vader. But Darth Vader was actually really, really tricky to record in third person because you couldn't see the health. I actually in the recording of that, I actually managed to get through the entire gameplay of it. I actually managed to get through the entire game of that, of playing as Darth Vader. I only actually did it once. But I got through the entire thing once without dying, which I was actually quite amazed about. I didn't see how much health I had left over afterwards. But yeah, I was quite amazed that I actually managed to do that without dying. Stormtrooper Sergeant, sir, bombers are making their attack one on the walkers. Roger that, Sergeant, make sure the rebels are not able to get to the bombers. Sergeant, yes sir, TIE to focus your attention, make sure the bombers do not reach the walkers. This entire segment from here all the way down to here, from there all the way down, so from here all the way down to here, this was all taken out. Now the reason why I did that was because in the actual thing, Darth Vader made contact with the clone trooper. This happened a lot earlier than it should have done. At the end of the game, Darth Vader in the original one, Darth Vader made contact right at the end of the game and said, "Very good, Trooper, I'm impressed. I'll deal with the rebels from here. Finish them off in your current location. There's some of the rebels have which I wish to collect," which was changed. I'll say that in a minute. And then it went to Darth Vader's gameplay on Twilight on Hoth. Now that was changed, basically because I then found it more fitting to have the clone trooper in the rebel base wiping out the rebels, and then Darth Vader makes contact, and then leaving him battling in that battle arena. Darth Vader do what he needs to do, finish off what he needs to do, and then have the clone trooper and his forces still fighting, which sort of made to me that Darth Vader's forces were very highly advanced and highly skilled and could do things much quicker than anybody else, because the clone trooper was still fighting and his troops were moving very slowly. That's sort of what my interpretation of that was. Very good trooper. I'm impressed. That was never meant to have a hologram in it. That was just meant to be Darth Vader saying it through the comms. That was never actually meant to have a hologram in it. And then I thought I'd do a Darth Vader hologram because it makes sense to see Darth Vader coming out, because it just came out of nowhere. Be like, where did that come from? And then when I saw how good Darth Vader's hologram looked, I then turned around and thought I'll do it with the clone trooper as well, just because it's just something else to add in that makes it look a little bit better. And comes to Darth Vader on Hoth. Again, this was added in. The rebels have some form of energy source. And it's up to us to obtain it for him. No excuses. This was taken out because I couldn't get the voices for it. Up here, where it says there's something that the rebels have that I wish to collect, I changed it to there is something that I must do, because it sounds a bit more mysterious. If they're saying there's something here that some of the rebels have that I wish to collect, it gives the clone trooper an insight to what Darth Vader was actually trying to do. If he says there's something I must do, it's very secretive. And that was sort of the whole idea, because it's building up the tension. Because at the end, it says the only people who knew of Darth Vader's real intentions were the troopers of Vader's fist, which is what Darth Vader's Legion was called after the 501st. And that sort of me trying to build a bit of insecurity with the clone trooper, and saying that Darth Vader's been very secretive, even though the clone trooper is still quite high up in the Empire. He's still having a lot kept from him, because at this time not a lot of people knew of the Death Star's construction. Only Darth Vader and his troopers knew, because of Darth Vader, because of the collecting of the power sources and whatnot.